All right, today we're going to talk about writing the equations of perpendicular bisectors. Let's first define it so we can remember exactly what it is. A perpendicular bisector is a segment extending from a point so that it is perpendicular to the line at its midpoint. So remember, it's extending from the midpoint. That's what's special about the perpendicular bisector. It extends from the midpoint so that it is perpendicular to whatever it's crossing right at the midpoint. So we're going to first graph the perpendicular bisector of AB. So let's plot the points. A is at 1, 3. That's A. B is at 9, 7. And that is B. Here is our segment, AB. Now it wants us to find the midpoint between A and B and label it M. So remember the midpoint formula is you add the x's in your ordered pairs and divide by 2 and add your y's in your ordered pair and divide by 2. So we're going to have 1 plus 9 divided by 2 and 3 plus 7 divided by 2. 1 plus 9 is 10. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 3 plus 7 is 10. Divided by 2 is 5. So our midpoint M is at 5, 5. Let's graph it. Right there. And that's going to be M. All right, now find the slope of AB. So since we're given a graph, we can just count the slope, the rise over the run. So we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. So we went up 4, and then we went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the positive direction. Always reduce your slope, so 4 over 8 reduces to 1/2. Now, in D it says find the slope of the perpendicular bisector to AB. This is the slope of the perpendicular bisector. Okay, because let's read that again. So find the slope of the line perpendicular to AB. Here's AB, and we want to know exactly where does that line have to come in so that it is exactly perpendicular at that point. Well, the only way we can mathematically confirm that that is 90 degrees is by using slope. Remember we talked about perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite reciprocals. So you flip the number, flip the sign. So if the slope of the line is 1/2, then we've got to flip the number over and we've got to change the sign, and that's going to be the slope of your perpendicular bisector. Now in part E, it asks us to graph the perpendicular bisector. So again, this is where the definition becomes important. So the perpendicular bisector is a segment starting from a point. So if we start from this point right here, we have to start from in a specific point, the midpoint. If we start from here and we have to be a perpendicular bisector, then we're going to use the perpendicular slope. So we're going to count from the midpoint and count out our slope. So if we go here, it's a -2. So if we go down 2 right here and back 1, down 2, back 1, down 2, back 1, down 2, back 1. And then you can also go the other way. You can go up 2, backwards 1. And there, what you've created is indeed, it's perpendicular because the slopes are opposite reciprocals, and you found that M is the midpoint. All right, so therefore, what we just graphed was a perpendicular bisector. So this is, again, what we just did. We started at the midpoint, and we use the perpendicular slope to find the new points on the line. Find as many points as you need. You really only need 2 points to make a line. Now, in F, it's asking which one of the following is the equation of the perpendicular bisector of AB. So remember what we're going to do is that we're going to use these answer choices and work backwards from them based on what we know about the equations of lines, ny equals mx plus b. Well, we already know for sure that the slope of the perpendicular bisector is -2/1. So right there, these answer choices are gone because we need a -2 slope. Now, the last part the difference between these two is one has a y-intercept of 2 and one has a y-intercept of 15. Well, if you look, this right here is y-intercept of 2. Our perpendicular bisector is not going to touch that line, that 2 right there whatsoever. So the equation of this line, of your perpendicular bisector, is -2x plus 15. So the other part asks, why are the other ones not correct? And so that's kind of what I just went over. Why are the other answer choices not correct? Give an explanation for each. B and C do not have the correct slope. And the other one is that A, the y-intercept, is not correct. So again, we're using the answer choices and we're just kind of doing process of elimination to match the equation up to the perpendicular bisector. So now what we're going to do is, again, we're going to use the answer choices and we're going to match up the equation with what it's asking. Number 1 says, which equation contains the perpendicular bisector of side NO? So right away, you've got to pay attention to, all right, this is side NO. It wants the perpendicular bisector. So first, you have to find the slope of NO. So let's count that, rise over run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, back 2. So we went up 8 and back 2. That's going to reduce to a -4/1. So anything that's going to be perpendicular to NO is going to be flip the number, flip the sign. So flip the number upside down and the sign changes. So what that does is that eliminates an answer choice here. So we know our slope needs to be 1/4. Well, next we know, okay, if it's a perpendicular bisector, it's going to start at the midpoint. So we can calculate the midpoint of NO. And you can see right there that it actually lands right on that y-intercept of -7. So right then and there, when you see a y-intercept of -7, you can come down and look at the other answer choices and see if any of them have a y-intercept of -7, and it does. So D is your answer. This would be the equation of the perpendicular bisector, and you can see if you go up 1 and over 1, 2, 3, 4, and back 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, there would be the line for the perpendicular bisector. And we're not going to do this last part. I forgot to take it off, so you can just cross that out. Okay, which equation contains the perpendicular bisector of side RT? So again, we're looking at RT right here, and we're calculating the slope of RT. So let's count rise over run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. 1, 2, 3. All right, so I got up 6/12, which is basically 1/2, up 1 over 2. So anything perpendicular to RT is going to be flip the number, flip the sign. So I'm going to go down and eliminate answer choices because I know the slope needs to be -2/1, so we've got to get rid of that one. Now, if it's perpendicular to RT, it's going to start at its midpoint. And I know the slope is -2/1, so we can graph that. Up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. And so right away you can see there that it's going to hit that y-axis right here, and that's the y-intercept. And remember, that's the B down here in your equations. So it's hitting the y-intercept at 7, so you then know that A is the equation of the perpendicular bisector, and you can draw it in once you've counted out the slope. There you go. Which equation below could represent the equation of a line parallel to the perpendicular bisector? So remember, parallel lines have the same slope. So the slope of the perpendicular bisector is -2. So if we wanted a parallel slope, it would also have to be -2. Therefore, D is your answer. Number 3, find the equation of the line containing the perpendicular bisector of side NP. So here we have NP. All right, we've got a midpoint. We can count the slope again, so we're going to go up 2 and back 10. We always reduce the slope, so -1/5. That's the slope of the line given, so perpendicular slope would be flip the number, flip the sign. So again, we're going to eliminate some answer choices based off of the slope. So those don't work. Now we only have to decide about the B. Well, just in general, look at where this line is going to go. This line is going to be coming in this direction. Well, you can just kind of gauge, if you were to extend this line down, this is the y-axis, this is the y-intercept. And that's the differences in A and B, your answer choices. One has a y-intercept of 1, that's right here. And the other one has one of -13, which is down here somewhere. So yes, if you extend this out, then B is the only one that makes sense, because that perpendicular bisector is not going to have a y-intercept of +1. Let's graph this. So we're going to go down 5 and back 1. And we can go up 5 and over 1. And there we go again, perpendicular bisector. And again, we're going to go ahead, we haven't talked about median again, so you can cross off that point. All right, one more. Find the equation of the line containing the perpendicular bisector of side KM. So here's KM. Okay, so we know here we have to find the slope of KM. So let's count that. Up 6. And back 12. So we have a -1/2. So perpendicular to that is going to be flip the number, flip the sign. So we're going to eliminate answer choices based off of the slope. So D does not work and A does not work. Now we're going to look for the general direction of the y-intercept. And you can see if we extend this line up, it's going to have a positive y-intercept. Well, these are really, really close together, so we're actually going to have to graph this one out before we can decide. So remember, you start at the midpoint and count your slope. So up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. There we go. We hit the y-axis right there when we graphed it at 2. So that makes C your answer. Now this last part, we can do this one. What is the slope of the mid-segment connecting KM and KL? Oh boy, let's try to remember that. So KM, so a mid-segment, remember, connects midpoints. So we have a midpoint of KM. All right, we have a midpoint of LM. So there would be the mid-segment. Now remember, the mid-segment is also, it's parallel to this third side, and parallel lines have the same exact slope. So you can count the slope of KL, and it will be the same as the slope of your mid-segment. So let's see, let's count KL, since it's already drawn on the graph and we hand drew this one. Up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so I got up 6 over 10. Take a 2 out of both, that will be up 3 over 5. Now let's see if our mid-segment here matches to make sure we did it correctly. If we go up 1, 2, 3, yep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, perfect. So that is the slope of the mid-segment.